during the break and never late for all types of news to drop, exciting things to happen. Big shout out Galacticus is first in the live chat. Dave Quattro is second in the live chat. And who's our third person in the live chat? We don't have a third person yet, but eventually, hopefully, we will have a third person in the live chat. We are here to talk about Alpine, Renault. No longer, at this point in time, is Alpine going to be a works team. And I'm just going to say, it's not like they did. I'm not going to say that, but I will say it's not like they have ever achieved what the works teams that we know in Mercedes and Ferrari have achieved in their time of competing in Formula One. Although fairly new to the game, Alpine is when you think in perspective of Ferrari and even Mercedes, but even more so Williams. But they just haven't achieved those things. Now, I do want to say this. I do want to be fair. Mary Beanie's third in the live chat. She takes a third step on the podium. I do want to say that I don't think it should be misunderstood because a lot of things that are flying around are, and it is true, but there's some context that I think should be added there. It's not as if Renault completely sucked when it came to V6 engines alone, okay? By far, best opportunities and very strong in V8s and V10s, but Renault has dealt with V6 engines before, and they have been successful in perspective with V6 engines before. It's specifically the V6 turbo hybrid engine area that screwed them. I mean, it just screwed them. They came in with that, and it screwed them ever since. Especially if you came in to Renault when Dan was driving for him, before that, it just seemed, even with Red Bull at some point in time, it just was a catastrophic failure. 2014, 2015 was a catastrophic failure. It was downhill. The Renault that you knew before that had been in so many other teams, so many other platforms that have performed to championship levels. Williams, I believe, at that time, Red Bull with Seb, with his 4 back-to-back, I believe Renault was with them at that point in time, and others. Renault has performed before, but as of late, in the past 10 years, they have not. They have been ultimately horrible. You know them as smoke bombs, firecrackers on track. I don't think there was one season, I don't believe I watched one race without feeling that I can place a bet that a Renault engine was going to let itself go. That is what I'm going to say. That a Renault engine was going to let itself go. And here we are now in a situation where we should have inevitably knew we were going to end up. We should have known we were going to end up here. We should have knew at some point in time that this was going to be the case. The case was Alpine started heading itself into a direction that seemed very catastrophic, and I mean failure, okay? Things started coming out. Rossi criticizing the team publicly to a point where it was almost like he wasn't even with the team. Think about that. Otmar, what the hell were you thinking with this driver's pairing? 2 drivers that we know since kids really haven't gotten along. But you brought them in, you put them together, and what did you think you were going to get? You got oil and vinegar. It's separated. It didn't work well. Ocon didn't respect Gasly. Gasly, really, I'm going to give him credit, was willing to play the team game. Ocon, not so much. To the point where he would ignore or table team orders. And in some cases, credit to both of them for handicapping the team by wrecking each other out. Then you let this guy in. You let this guy in who was banned from the sport for cheating. Whistleblown cheating. PK Jr. Snitched on him. He cheated. Alonso benefited. He cheated. They let him back into the team. He's a snake back into the garden. That is what Flavio is. Otmar couldn't handle it, couldn't get it together, paired some things together that he couldn't control. He gets out of there. Then what else did we have? We had Alpine asking for the good graces of the Formula One FIA that there should be something put in place so that they could catch up to the rest of the teams for development. I don't want to say it's asking for a handout. I don't want to say it's begging for a favor, because some of that was legitimate, especially when it came to even Williams. Infrastructure, development, trying to catch up to those teams, where at first we were in an era where there was no cost cap. As long as we could financially afford it, we could pay for it, we could develop time over time, bring new updates, test and try new things. That would have been a better situation for Alpine and Williams, but no longer is that the case. Concord agreements, cost caps, everything has to be limited amongst all teams. You have to stay beneath that. Don't go over that, or you breach and you will be penalized heavily, unless you're Red Bull. Let's just keep it real. Unless you're Red Bull. We didn't see them get penalized heavily for crap when they came to that. But Alpine collecting, I mean, Ryan, what is it? Michael B. Jordan, Ryan Reynolds, and McAfee? Ryan Reynolds and McAfee all come in as team owners. Patrick Mahomes, Joshua, Travis Kelce, team owners. I told you all, and I told you, I said, just because they collecting all this money, that $1 billion evaluation, doesn't mean they're going to perform. It's one thing to have money, it's another to keep money, and it's another thing to strategically spend money where you will benefit from those investments. Alpine has not. Alpine just has not, okay? Alpine's highest finish was when they came up with their whole slogan, best of the rest. And since then, they have not been the best of any damn thing. And now here it is. For so many months, there has been a pushback from Formula One in regard to Andretti. And I'm not campaigning big for Andretti anymore. Some of the things Andretti has done, some of the things he said, I'm with it because of competition. But at some point in time, I have to reach a point where, listen, I've said it already. Competition teams, cool. But I will say this. The FIA granted and sided with Andretti to be allowed into the sport as the 11th team. Formula One pushed back and said no, and they said it quite disrespectfully, quite tongue-in-cheek wise. And here it is now. This is what happens when you spit and win, you get it in your face. Because it looks absolutely crazy. While you were saying an entity like Andretti would not be able to come and offer anything to the sport, you literally have two teams that don't offer anything to the sport. Haas does not offer more. Let me say, not anything. Let me say very little, not more than you offer them to the sport, because that's what you said in the Andretti response. That Formula One would do more for Andretti than Andretti would do for the sport of Formula One. Well, I'm here to tell you, you have two teams that Formula One does more for them than they do for the sport of Formula One. And that's Alpine and that's Haas. And now you have an entire team that is in disarray, not only by driver pairing, not only by administration and higher ups, not only by their shop and personnel workers campaigning and protesting, because you're very good at hiding that protest. You're very good at hiding protests that the workers would put forth in order to, go for something. It's very good how Formula One can mask those things in so many ways. But also, the team technically, literally has just fallen apart from a works team to a customer team without an engine just now. And this is what you were protecting. I get it, protecting Alpine a little bit more than Haas, because Haas has had their moment. Alpine's very young. Alpine as a brand coming into the sport, very young, okay? I want to say Alpine is 2021. Is Alpine 2021? I want to say Alpine is 2021, maybe 20. Yeah, I think Alpine is 2021. So Haas has had their run. They have. They've had their pitfalls deeply. They've had They're horrific driver pairings time and time again. They have literally some of the worst events on track in the sport. Where they're ranked, I don't know. I'm not saying I can rank them, but I'm telling you, they're one of them. By the way, one of their drivers going over to Indy and almost doing the same type Haas crash it out mentality, Grosjean. So is it not time to reevaluate that whole structure of the teams? Is it not time to say, hey, somebody's got to go? Maybe we thought it would be Haas. Haas has been here longer. They've screwed up longer. But you're in a pretty bad situation. Haas has Ferrari. They're a customer team. They got a Ferrari. What are you going to do? Mercedes is up in the air as far as providing them an engine. I don't think Honda's in there. Honda's going to be with Aston. I don't know what the whole construct of Honda's deal is as far as supplying power units. So I don't know if they're going to become kind of what Mercedes and Ferrari are. But if it is the case, then maybe Honda's out there. Ferrari's definitely out there. But Renault is no longer here. Renault's gone. They're out of here. Audi is coming in 2026. So now with this whole not rebadging, but how can I say it? Reconstructing themselves, there are a lot of challenges. Alpine already wasn't doing well with the challenges they had in front of them just as a typical Formula One team competing. I don't know how or what's going to happen where they're going to instill confidence in spectators, their fan base, and their workers that we're going to be okay. You weren't okay when you were a works team. You weren't okay when you had flexibility to change, adapt, and develop far greater than a customer team. And right now you got customer teams kicking your ass. Matter of fact, there's a customer team kicking everybody's ass right now, and that's McLaren. McLaren is a customer team. And there's a notion out there that says customer teams don't typically win championships. McLaren could be that customer team that wins championships. Powered by Mercedes power unit. And I know Aston, McLaren, for at least the last few seasons, have somewhat made Mercedes look irresponsible. That we have your parts, we have your power unit, and we're outperforming you. Different parts of the season, and now throughout the course of majority of this season. So it can be a little embarrassing, but still, there's a customer team out here that's performing above everybody else. So it's not to say that Alpine, while demoting themselves from works team to customer team, can't achieve as much as they've already achieved as fourth in constructors one day. It's not going to be soon, I don't think. But it still is to say, now you have to develop different. Now you have to develop your aero different. Now, what do you have to consider when it comes to your chassis? Because your gearbox, your power unit, all of this stuff is interchange. It has to work together. So now there is a reforming. There's a strategy. There's a strategy. There's all types of things that are going to have to go into developing this new chassis. And you can't even get started until you figure out what your power unit, what your trans, what your gearbox is going to be. And let alone that, you got one driver, and then I think they got Jack Doan coming in to fill Ocon's seat. So they'll have Gasly and Doan in there filling that seat. I think that will definitely be a better driver's pairing. But as long as this guy's in the mix, I would say hold on to your britches because you don't know what might come next. There may be some type of underhanded deal to be made by Flavio. You just don't know. As soon as he came in, there was already a red flag that went up to me that said, what's going on? Why would you bring this guy back? Why would you bring a known cheater to the umpteenth degree, banned from the sport, back in here besides to be some type of con artist salesman? There has to be something else in the works that we are not quite sure about. So we will see what happens. We will see how this turns out. Alpine, I believe, is going to be in turmoil until, let me see. New era comes in 2026. They get a customer, if they get a power unit, I think still Alpine. I don't think Alpine finished higher than fourth even before 2026. I don't think they finished higher than fourth by 2028. I think other teams like Williams will be in their way. Other teams, even possibly Haas. Haas seems, even though I don't really care for Haas, and Haas is not an American team to me, but Haas, even in itself, seems to be a little bit like kind of getting their shit together. Dare I say, maybe, kinda. Komatsu has, to me, maybe got in there and kind of turned some things into a positive. So we'll see how that goes and we'll see how it turns out. But as far as right now, Alpine is cooked. They are cooked. And and some of us saw this coming miles away when things just started toppling and falling apart, that this something to this degree was going to happen. But now we're here. Let's see what really goes on. And let's see where Andretti may come up in these conversations as far as this Alpine debacle, or maybe not at all. Maybe Andretti, I'm not even going to compare Andretti to Colin Kaepernick and his ban from the NFL. It's not even close. Maybe Andretti is stonewalled and maybe they never want to let him in. Maybe they never want to let him in unless it's completely on their terms, which to me is kind of chicken shit of Formula One. Just going to say it. It's chicken shit to me. So we'll see what happens. Big shout out to everybody tuning in. Don't forget, when Formula One's not racing, we are. F1 Grudge Racing. Big shout out to Paul with that fantastic finish this past weekend. Hopefully we have more drivers entering into the Grudge race for this Sunday coming up, because I don't think we're yet in Coda. I think we're not back on until the 18th through the 20th or 17th through the 19th, something like that. But come race with us Sundays, usually 11:30. The link is posted. Have a good time. We'll pack out. Peace.